for the effort, please.
I felt that the emphasis was being taken off of Harlem and the fact that this was a segregated facility, and there was as much talk about the war as there was about Harlem. My concern was Harlem and what was happening there, and the fact that we as black students were part of an institution.
The Hollywood ending, because I guess it just didn't end that way in terms of, you know, his passing away. You know, was that a real choice? Do you know what I mean? Because it really does like kind of come down, like on that beat. You know, I was wondering like, why.
The ending is just like it happened, you know, in real life. I mean, there was no choice. Unfortunately, it really ended that way, and I mean, unconsciously, I guess maybe I chose to do that, so maybe you would have the same effect that. I mean, not the same, but a similar effect to this abrupt ending, and it was just like that. He died from one day to the next, and we were, you know, not warned. He had cerebral meningitis, which is, meningitis is something very treatable, right? I mean, you shouldn't be dying of meningitis, but if it goes to your brain and you don't catch it quickly, it's deathly, and that's what happened. And so the effect on all of us was just, I mean, you know. Yeah, it was really devastating, and you know, and that's unfortunately how the story ends. Like,
I just wanted to follow up just with them one more. With the Columbia piece, did you get other stories that people wanted to add to it? What made you? I'm sure you got a lot of people that had something to say about that day. You know, why were your choices the way they were? I guess I should ask the director that. You know, and specifically that one panel of gentlemen that was speaking, it seemed like you chose them for a specific reason. They had a lot of insight, but I'm sure you had other people. Like, why did you make those choices for those particular subjects?
Well, this film began in 1968. I started writing what happened there. But it overwhelmed me and overtook me emotionally, mentally and all. So I picked it up again in like 1990, the thread of writing it. And then my son sends me an email that he has a movie on YouTube. And I said, you what? I mean, I never heard of YouTube at that point in time, 2 or 3 years ago. And I said, well, if you can do that, you can do this. So we ended up on a pell-mell pace to do a film that had been in the making for 40 years. We had to do it in about 8 months because we had the Columbia, commemoration of it. To this week, what are we, the 30th Friday? This is 40 years this week, right? This is 41 now. So anyway, and I left the building, remember, early. I wasn't there through the whole thing. So I had to unravel and piece together here and there. After this movie was finished, some of those 4 guys, or 5, said to me, Sherry, it's not complete. I said, duh, do you want to put your $50,000 of retirement money in? I'm not putting anything else. And that's a no budget. But they were serious. They needed to have the community people. You've heard them reference the Harlem Community. And I have met some of those people, and I would love to get their input, but I couldn't do it. Not in this movie. We just didn't have the time and the money to turn it around. Those 4 people that I happened to pull in, had not been together that way in 40 years. Some of them hadn't even seen each other in 40. So this thing, it's like, I tell people when they want to talk about making a movie, if you've ever written a book, if you've ever painted a picture, there's a lot of things that you can do. And if you've done those, even stepping, you realize what is involved, what it takes. You learn this, you pick up that, someone gives you insight, you have insight, but you have a timeline. So it wasn't intentional. I didn't know. I knew there were community people, but I didn't know who and how to reach them. I could get these folks together and like that because they knew me, they trusted me, and they hadn't seen me in 40 years. But they came together for this venture. Thank you for that question.